Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to give a huge shout out to everybody who really left a like and a comment on the last video. I really appreciate that. Um, it's still performing well. It's over 200 views. The last one about the sun becoming a red giant. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that, and I don't want to get in the habit of begging for likes or subs like other channels because I absolutely cannot stand that. But so today we are going to be covering the aftermath of our sun's red giant stage, because our sun's eventually, it's not going to be a excuse me, it's not going to be a black hole or a supernova. It's actually going to become a white dwarf. So real quick, I'm going to pop it back up to where it was in the last simulation. We had it at I believe 140 kilometers. Oh, excuse me, 140 million kilometers in diameter, or sorry, in radius. Actually, it'd be twice that. So 140 million radius, so that'd be 280 in diameter, million kilometers in diameter. But yeah, it seems like you guys agreed that the Earth would survive the sun's expansion. I think that's the direction most scientists are leaning this day, as our understanding of stellar evolution grows better with time. So, but yeah, after the red giant phase, which I believe the current estimate is about 70 million years, the sun will start to shrink, and it will become much smaller than it is today. And it will actually become, like I said, a white dwarf, which isn't even really a star. It's more the remnant of a star, because fusion is no longer taking place within our sun. It's just basically like a charcoal that's used up all its fuel, but it's still hot from all the heat that was generated millions and billions of years before. So the sun's current temperature as a red giant is going to be somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 Kelvin. I'm going to bring up the habitable zone, and if you recall in the last video, we had Neptune and Pluto being somewhat habitable. But at 5,000 Kelvin, you can clearly see, close this down. Sorry, bear with me. A little scatterbrained today. I passed on the morning coffee, so not my usual semi-sharp self. So, but you can see at 5,000 Kelvin, for a red giant phase, you've got a much more distant habitable zone. So I'm trying to figure out what this is. I know the second to largest orbit is actually Sedna, which I thought was the most distant object we knew that still orbited the sun, but there's always a chance that that's just some kind of comet. That's probably what it is. I think it is a comet. Yeah. Yeah, with a radius of 9.5 kilometers, it's a comet. So, I don't think that's right though. That that orbit seems fantastically large. Okay, I'm gonna slow things down. But yeah, you can see that the habitable zone is way beyond Neptune and Pluto, with a temperature of 5,000. Sedna, with its wild orbit, its very elliptical orbit, would come in and out of the habitable zone at that temperature. But remember, this is the maximum temperature that we believe the sun will be during its red giant phase. It's probably going to be closer to 3,000 or 4,000 Kelvin. So we're going to lower this down to 3,000, right, the low end, and well, it still looks like it's pretty far out there. I think I need to let some time pass for it to adjust. The simulation doesn't actually update until you let some time pass. So, but you can see everything is way within the habitable zone. Nothing's really permanently in the habitable zone at 3000 Kelvin. So we're going to get rid of the sun, and we're going to replace it with the nearest white dwarf that we're aware of, Sirius B. So let me put this on still, not orbit. Let's see, how about that? Looks like the middle. We'll set it there. So yeah, just so you know, Sirius, I guess is how you pronounce it. I always said Sirius, but I believe it is Sirius. Is the nearest white dwarf that we know of, and Sirius A is the parent in a binary system, and Sirius B is, of course, a white dwarf. And as you can see, these are tiny, tiny little stellar remnants. This one in particular is slightly smaller than the Earth. Now, I'm trying to remember how to change the name, because I don't want it to be called Sirius B. I want it to be called the Sun. Bear with me just a second. Okay, I got it. I knew there was like one place that you can change the name. There we go. The Sun. But we're going to be dramatic and call it Dead Sun. There we go. But yeah, once our sun is a white dwarf, it is not going to have any nuclear fission going on, going on in its core. What's interesting, I'm showing the mass right here. The mass, I'm going to have to reduce that, because the mass of our sun as a white dwarf, wow, got bigger, would be half of its current mass. It's going to lose about half of its material into the universe as it sheds its outer layer. So now you can see it got bigger, even though we reduced the mass, and that happens with gas giants as well. The more massive a gas giant is, actually the smaller it gets. So that's why Saturn and Jupiter are so similar in size, even though Jupiter is far, far more massive. Okay, now when our sun forms, it's going to be about 100,000 Kelvin or 180,000 Fahrenheit, and just about the same, about 100,000 Celsius as well. So it's going to be, excuse me, it's going to be extremely hot when it first forms. Because of course you've got all that material collapsing back down to the stellar remnant. Yeah. I stumbled around looking for auto orbit because I don't want all these planets flying away. I reduced the sun's mass by half, so they're not going to be in their current orbits if I do that. So, but we're talking about moving the Earth in this video anyway. So you can see at 100,000 degrees, right after the sun forms, becomes a white dwarf, Saturn is comfortably in the habitable zone, which means that its moon, Titan, the only moon in the solar system with a significant atmosphere, will actually be prime real estate. Now, take a look at the luminosity. The luminosity is about 5.5 thousandths of what the sun is today. So it's going to be much, much dimmer than our sun currently is. But Sirius B is not 100,000 Kelvin because it didn't just become a white dwarf. It's 20,000 Kelvin. So I've changed the sun's temperature to 20,000 Kelvin. A little fun fact is that white dwarfs, um, they start out extremely hot, but then they lose a lot of their temperature initially, but as they cool slower because it becomes harder and harder to lose that temperature into space, that heat into space, being a vacuum and all. So white dwarfs take so long to cool that there's none that are cold in the universe, even though the universe is, of course, 13.5 billion years old. So it's kind of hard to see with all those orbital trails and whatnot. But yeah, the Earth will have a dim bluish light. Scientists believe that the light that the sun emits as a white dwarf will be it won't be warm, it won't be vibrant and bright like natural sunlight. It's going to be more like fluorescent lighting. It's not the same quality of light that the sun currently produces. So see if I can't clear this simulation up a little bit. I guess not. I was hoping I could delete some of those comets and dwarf planets. Okay, you can see though at its current distance from the sun, the Earth is getting very, very cold. It's dropped from about 15 Celsius to 60 below. Sorry, my voice is really scratchy today. Trying to figure out where it's going to stabilize, like how cold it's actually going to get. And of course, at these temperatures, the oceans would freeze over. Wow, that's painfully cold. But you can see the temperature drop is slowing down as it becomes stabilized. But yeah, the interesting thing is if we can survive the death of our sun and move the Earth in the process, it doesn't have to be moved quickly because you're talking about time scales of millions of years. So very gradual changes over time can be made. And you can play a little bit of you can manipulate the Earth's distance from the sun by basically either using what's referred to as a gravity tractor beam, or you can orbit a asteroid around the Earth and around the sun, with the asteroid taking a little bit of the Earth's speed and bringing it closer to the sun with each passing orbit. So yeah, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to trade out Earth and Mercury's place. So Mercury is, Mercury is orbiting the sun 0.357 AU from the sun. So just about a third of the distance that Earth is. Now, I need to, tummy's growling. I need to change Earth to 0.357. Then I've got to fix its orbit so it's not elliptical. There we go. Make sure the distance is the same. It is. Alright, now let's keep an eye on that temperature. Yeah, so what I was saying is if we can survive the death of our sun and get the Earth close enough to our sun as a white dwarf, it will last for trillions, not billions, trillions of years. Like I said, there's no black dwarfs, which is what happens when a white dwarf cools all the way. There's no black dwarfs at all in the universe because the universe simply isn't old enough for a white dwarf to have lost all its heat. So So yeah, they're going to make the drop from say 100,000 to 20,000 relatively quickly, but to get cold, to drop down below 3 and 2,000 Kelvin will take trillions of years. So there will be an energy source for future humans, even if they never leave the solar system. And of course, if we don't move the Earth, we can still move closer and further in orbital space colonies, giant city-sized spacecraft. So that would be actually far easier than moving the Earth anyway. But since you've got millions of years, you might as well save the Earth if you can. Alright, so I sped the simulation up so we could see how warm this is going to get. I'm going to speed it up a little bit more. I'm trying to figure out its final resting place temperature-wise. It takes years for it to get to where it's going to be. Okay, we're getting warm. Still frozen though. Okay, that's a little chilly, but that's pretty close to yeah, that's a little chilly, but that is close to Earth's current temperature. Yeah, 52 Fahrenheit. That's of about 60. Okay. And this is half, I believe, half of Mercury's distance from the sun. So 20-something million miles away. Excuse me. I'm looking for the atmosphere because I suspect that's why it's not. Maybe the atmosphere froze out. Just bear with me, sorry. I promise as I do more of these videos, I'll get more competent with this version of Universe Sandbox. Okay. Alright, yeah, okay, the air pressure is fine. Let's see. Oh, that's real beautiful. It looks like some of the ocean's partially melted, like the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, excuse me, Gulf of America now. Did y'all hear about that? Yeah, Gulf of Mexico is being changed to the Gulf of America. Yeah, we got some warm spots there, it looks like. Okay. But I'm surprised the ice isn't melting completely. It's only like partially melted. Yeah, see, that's ocean right there. Little ocean peeking through around Florida. Sometimes these simulations get broken. You make too many changes. Okay, yeah, see, there's a little bit of might also be because of the low luminosity of the sun. The simulation's not registering that it has enough heat to melt all this ice. Anyways, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please leave me some suggestions. I need some ideas for some videos, so don't be shy. Just tell me what you want to see. It doesn't have to be purely scientific. It can be crazy and fun too. So just leave me some suggestions. Leave a like if you like the video, and thank you so much for watching.